Hey guys, happy Tuesday Night Live! Last week I wasn't live because I was in the middle of my workshop, but I did upload a video previous or to be scheduled at 8:30. So if you didn't check that out, I think I talked about content creation and how you can do it without feeling overwhelmed, even if you're on a ton of different platforms. So I kind of give you a breakdown of my content schedule and how you can do that. So go check that out if you missed it last week. Tell me if you're watching live, say hi. I can't tell who's watching, but I can tell how many people are on. So say hi. So tonight we're going to be talking about the top 10 mistakes I made in my first year as an entrepreneur, which was around 3 or 4 years ago now. And I still sometimes make these mistakes, so I thought it was a good reminder to go through tonight. And I have my notes on the side of my screen. Okay, so the very first mistake I made was not having systems for everything. So you know how your house is set up to have systems, like at least our family's does, like, because I'd go crazy. 3 toddlers, a family of 5, and so our shoes go in a certain drawer, our socks go in that same drawer, like kids' socks, because you know they're itty bitty and we lose them all the time. So they get folded up, they go in a plastic bag with their little initial in it. They know to put them back in there. Their shoes are in the same drawer. Their coats are hung on a certain hook. We have certain systems so that we don't lose things, so that we know where everything is, so that the house flows together nicely. And so life is just a little bit less chaotic. Well, the same thing goes for your business. You should have a defined system and order of doing things. So even when you're writing your blog post, for instance, perhaps maybe you outline it first, then maybe you write it, then you create the graphics, then you post it and make sure you email it out to your list. Then maybe you post it to social media. So whatever that system is, there should be systems for almost everything in your business. And maybe not right away, but as you start, growing and as you start doing these things more, you can know what's going to work best for you, what makes it less stressful, what can you delegate out, what can you plan out in advance, and things will start running a lot smoother. And so the first year of my business, I really didn't have any of those systems in place. I was just kind of winging everything, and I think that's normal when you're first starting out. But it was really chaotic, and I dropped the ball on things. I didn't get blog posts written like I said I was going to. And so the second mistake that I did in my first year was not investing money to make money. This is a super scary topic, and I come from a place where we did not have money, personal money, to invest in my business when we were first starting out. In fact, I think the only money I've ever borrowed from our family was $500 on a credit card, and I paid it back in 2 weeks. So I grew my business, and still currently I'm growing my business from my business money only, which meant I needed to make some money first to invest, but I made sure that I didn't hoard all the money that I earned in my business. I made sure that I had a plan for what I was going to invest in, and that I wasn't just sitting there on my bank account and growing, because honestly, money grows faster when you invest it in the right things. And so, like I said, one of the very first investments I ever did was $500 of a Melissa Griffin course, and it was fantastic. I still look back to that stuff that I learned in that course today. And so what I didn't understand was, in that first year of business, is that time is so much more valuable than money. Like, I'd so much rather have more time than more money, especially being a mom of 3 toddlers, only being able to work 3 to 6 hours a day. And so, of course, you can probably grow your business without spending money and doing it all on your own. But the amount of time that it takes you is crazy more than if you just invested. And so there's been a pattern of growth in my business in this past year, and that has been hiring a babysitter when I didn't feel ready. That was hiring a virtual assistant and project manager when I didn't feel ready. That was getting an intern from my alumni Cedarville University School when I didn't feel ready. And all of these things can feel really, really scary, but they've always turned out to make me more money and to grow my business in the way that I wanted, in the direction I wanted to go when I knew that investment was right for my business. I knew I needed a babysitter with 3 kids. There's no way I could run a business with no help because my husband's in this master's program, and so he comes home, we eat dinner, and then he goes straight into his office until like bedtime. And so I knew I couldn't do it all on my own, so I hired a babysitter. After that, I still know I couldn't run it all on my own, and that I hated doing certain tasks that comes with business running and business growing. And so I hired my virtual assistant, and that was a really scary process because at first I hired someone I didn't know, and that turned out to be not that great. And so I actually had to fire her within 2 weeks. And my virtual assistant is my sister-in-law, and it is a really, really great place to be because I trust her with my passwords. She works really fast. She has an administrative background and a business degree, so it works really well. So I'm getting on a rabbit trail, so I'll go to my third mistake my first year was that I was trying to do it all on my own. This kind of goes with hiring out, but not only hiring out, but the best way to grow your audience is through sharing other stuff, supporting other people, collaborating with other people, and networking. So all of this, growing your audience, is not really about you and sharing your stuff. It's about coming together with other people and sharing other people's stuff. Have you heard the 80-20? The 80-20 rule applies to this too. Like 80%, maybe I have it backwards. 80% your stuff and 20% other people's, or vice versa. I'll have to refresh myself on that rule. But basically, to get in front of another audience, start sharing others' work that you admire and that is something your audience would like too. And this is going to build relationships with them. And after you build relationships, they will start sharing your work to their audience in return. You can collaborate with other people. I know I've collaborated with Shauna before. Without collaborating with Shauna, I would have never known Shauna. She's become one of my best friends. She became a client after that. It was just really awesome. So you cannot do it on your own. Collaborate with somebody, support other people. The fourth mistake, that's what word I'm looking for, is don't price yourself like your client has your wallet. As I said, starting off with my business about 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember, 3.5, we had a really, really, really tight wallet. We couldn't put any personal money towards my business. We had hospital bills from NICU, twin babies we had. We had hospital bills from the birth of them, like my bills. We had, we have student loans that we're still paying off. We had a really tight wallet. And so I had a really, really hard time seeing past my wallet and not pricing my stuff, thinking that the only people that are going to be buying my stuff is the people who have my wallet. Because what that does is that really makes you undervalue yourself. And it really starts attracting the wrong kind of people, because the people who are attracted to cheap things are typically the red flag clients, the ones who are difficult to get along with. So the fifth mistake is not niching down. So this was a really, really hard concept for me to grasp. I know for a lot of you guys it is too, but when I started, I was just freelance, like graphic designer. And instead of having, the projects that I really, really liked, I was having projects like, designing a Microsoft Word or I was designing PowerPoints or flyers and things that I really hated doing. And it was consistent clients and consistent work, but it was stuff that really made me not want to go sit at my laptop and do this. And so it really made me question myself, like, oh my gosh, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this what I'm made for? Like, I didn't feel like my purpose was clear. And so when I started to niche down to my branding and website design services, because that's what I love doing, I started really feeling that passion that I once had when I started my business. Again, because I was starting to attract the kinds of people that I wanted, started getting the work that I wanted. And when I say I started getting the work that I wanted, it also meant that I turned down the work I didn't want to be doing. I started turning down work that didn't excite me. I actually am having to turn down somebody today for designing a PowerPoint. It's just not something that I like doing. And it can still sometimes be a little bit hard to turn down work, but it opens you up and frees you up to find the work that you really love. So that leads me into the next mistake, which is only take jobs that fit. So once I niched down, I got less job inquiries that were not what I wanted. And when I did get one, I had to learn to say, I'm sorry, I don't do that type of work anymore. This is what I do. I can do this for you, or here's someone who is really good at that. So always refer them to somebody else, because you don't want to just leave them hanging like, sorry, I don't do that. Always try to find them somewhere else and be helpful. So the seventh mistake is create detailed contracts. I think this is so overlooked in this online world, and it kind of scares me because without a detailed contract, your business can get in deep poop, like really fast. And so a lot of creative business owners or coaches are afraid to email out a contract in the beginning of a project or a relationship, and because they're afraid it's going to sound cold-hearted or too businessy. Well, tough love. You are a business, and every business has to deal with the legal side of things and protect their own butts. So I don't have too many stories where I had to pull out a contract and was glad that I had that issue covered in it. But when I did have to, I'm so glad I had that detailed contract. I knew I had a plan. I had a plan of action if there was a hiccup along the way. Thankfully, I typically know when there's going to be a red flag client, and I will not sign with them. But if there's ever a misunderstanding, I can kindly go to my contract and say, here it is written right there, and you signed it. So make sure your contract covers everything that you can think of. When I drew my contract up, I Googled some examples. There's some free templates on some legal websites or whatever. So make sure that you don't do anything illegal by copying someone else's contract, because people pay a lot of money to have a lawyer set that up for them. But use it more as a guide of what you should be including in yours. And then when there is a certain time in your business where you're dealing with higher end clients or a lot more prestigious projects or clients, I would say, is follow up with a lawyer and make sure that it is doing the job correctly. The eighth mistake is be upfront that your services are not free. This was really, really hard for me. I'm an introvert, and I'm a people pleaser. And so when my friends or when people knew me or my family or knew what I did, and they would come up to me and ask me to do a project, for some reason, creative work, and I was just talking to my intern today, I have a phone call with her before this, about how people think that creative work should be free. It's just kind of always been assumed, photography, if you're a friend of a photographer, they should do it for free. If you're a friend of a graphic designer, they should do it for free. And I don't know what it is. Like, people do that with artists all the time. I think they think that if you're enjoying your work, you should give it out for free, but it's not my fault that I went to college for something that I love. Like, I am a full believer that you should be loving what you make a living in, because otherwise you're going to be miserable in life. So I don't know. Be upfront that your services are not free. So I've been offered jobs plenty of times before by someone who have heard what I've done. They maybe know me personally, and it turns out that they were discussing voluntary work. They volunteered me to do something for free. And so in the beginning, my first year of entrepreneurship, I was always like, without hearing the parameters of the project, I would say, yes, absolutely. I'd love to help you. However, that was a mistake that I learned, because it would turn out to be free work. And so now what I say is, yes, I would love to sit down with you and discuss my packages and prices and see how I can help you. You make it really, really clear that whatever you're thinking, this is not going to be for free. I'm going to treat you like a client because you are one. And it doesn't have to be awkward at all. Just be confident and straightforward, and there will be no misunderstandings. So the 9th mistake I made is I got really excited when someone said that they were going to go ahead and sign with me, or they said that they came to me with like an inquiry. And so the mistake was that I got too excited before the money was in hand. And I learned very quickly that you should not get excited about a project or a client that you think you landed until you have a signed contract and the deposit in hand. Because there are so many times, and guys, this is one of the mistakes that I still struggle with. I want to go tell Chip, like my husband, oh my gosh, I just signed a client today, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is the project. And a lot of times, I don't know, people do not like telling you no. They just don't like telling you no. And so people will